Welcome back to Race for the White House. I'm David Gregory in Washington tonight. Even if there is an agreement on the bailout bill, what lies ahead for the next president of the United States? We're also going to hear from Senator Obama sometime this hour, we think, as he's taken some questions from reporters on his participation in the meeting at the White House today. Joining me now is Lawrence Summers, former Secretary of the Treasury under President Clinton and former president of Harvard University. Secretary Summers is now an advisor to Senator Obama.
Good to be with you.
Good to be with you. Good to have you here, Mr. Summers, as always. There's a lot at stake here. You are a supporter and an advisor to Senator Obama, of course, but you've also been through this on the inside as Treasury Secretary and somebody who knows the markets and knows this economy well. As you watch the negotiations move forward over the bailout, what's on your mind tonight?
Well, I hope that we'll get to an agreement. I hope it'll be an agreement that will reflect the principles that Senator Obama was really the first to lay out last Friday morning when he talked about the importance of minimizing burdens for taxpayers, the importance of accountability where others have contributed to creating these difficulties, where he talked about the idea of mutual responsibility, where he talked about the importance of making sure that the government was very careful in did this in a considered way, so there's no blank check for any individual. I just hope that this will get done quickly and that it will be done well. These problems didn't get made overnight. They got made by a set of very serious mistakes in government in these last years and in the private sector as well. And they're not going to get corrected overnight. But with a very dangerous situation, what you need to do is, what we as a country need to do is be decisive, but also be wise. And so you can't just rush just anything given the size of the financial stakes that are involved. And at the same time, we've got to get to an agreement if we're going to be in a position to restore confidence. So it's a difficult situation.
Let's talk about the actual substance. When you were on the program last week, you laid out 4 problems that got us into this position. I want to remind our viewers of what you said and then ask you if this addresses it. Let's play that tape.
We committed ourselves to deficits and foreign borrowing, which blew up the bubbles. We eviscerated the mortgage regulation that prevented the kind of subprime exploitation we've had. We abandoned the effort to have investment banks be closely regulated and turn their regulation over heavily to themselves. And as the problems mounted, we gave speeches about how the fundamentals were strong. We didn't take strong actions except when pressed by Democrats to do it.
What is this bipartisan solution, as it's still winding its way through the process, do to address those 4 points?
Well, we can't put the genie back in the bottle, and this crisis got made. So we can't turn back the deficits of the last few years. We can't put in place. We can't have mortgages not have been given that shouldn't have been given 5 years ago. What it does represent is an attempt to respond firmly to what is a substantial financial panic situation. And that's why carefully crafted measure can, I think, provide an important boost to confidence if it is crafted carefully. But if there's a sense that money is going to be thrown around idly, or if there's a sense that assets are going to be purchased at a price that's higher than taxpayers need to pay, then that's going to undermine confidence and it's not going to work. So that's why Senator Obama and Chairman Dodd, Congressman Frank have been very focused, with the benefit of advice from a wide group of financial experts, on trying to craft as constructive a bill as we possibly can. Yes, we do need to act, but that doesn't mean we can't also think very carefully as we act. And what's most important to me in this situation, and I've seen situations like, they're in some ways like this before, when Mexico was on the brink of bankruptcy during President Clinton's term. There's a need to be decisive, but also a need to very carefully consider the finances. Right. And that's what Senator Obama has been trying to do with his advisors, like Fed Chairman Paul Volcker, former Fed Chairman Paul Volcker.
All right, we're talking about the substance of this. A little bit of news from Mike Vaquera, who is our congressional correspondent and producer out of the House, that Minority Leader John Boehner is saying now that he cannot support this bailout measure as it is presently constructed, and that if Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi wants to move forward, she'll have to take this to the floor, and that she will be on her own. So these negotiations continue. The philosophical debates, the political debates continue, and part of that, Secretary Summers, has to do with whether this is simply throwing money down the drain here, a bailout that doesn't have any real promise of fairness or a return for taxpayers. Warren Buffett said today that he thought that, in fact, the government could make money off the purchase of all of these bad assets from the investment banks. Do you agree or disagree?
I think if the government does this right, carefully and thoughtfully, with the advice of people like Warren Buffett, who has been advising Senator Obama, that the costs there may be no cost, the government may actually turn a profit. It's possible that there'll be a small loss. I'm very distressed by what I heard you just report from Congressman Boehner, because I think this is too hard and too important for the kind of partisan fights we so often have. And I'm surprised that at this late hour there would be a new set of objections interposed by the congressional minority. The broad outlines of this bill have been clear for quite some time. So it's troubling to me that, maybe I'm wrong and maybe I'm misinterpreting this, and I hope that things will work out and this is a little bit of scuffling at the end. But I think it would be tragic if anyone tried to play politics with this.
You've dealt with the collapse of markets in Asia and in South America. This is what you told The Economist for their piece that's running in terms of the role of the government in all of this. There is far more risk that the authorities will have too little flexibility than there is risk that they will have too much authority. Do you think there is a rush here to deal with this fairness issue instead of giving the Treasury Secretary a big enough hand, a heavy enough hand to do what he thinks he has to do here?
I think you've got to have nothing in a democratic society can just be up to one person. That's why Senator Obama has stressed the importance of oversight from the beginning. We've got to have some clear principles that the purpose of this is to stabilize the broad financial system, not to avoid losses on Wall Street. Those kinds of principles have to be clear. But we can't know what the financial problems of 2 months from now are going to be today. We can't be certain precisely how instruments are going to be structured. That's why it seems to me and seems to Senator Obama and to others he has worked with that it's so important that we have a principle-based approach in which Congress enunciates a number of clear principles, but doesn't try to tie the hands as to, is it going to be preferred stock or common stock? Those aren't discussions that are best made as absolutes in a legislative process.
All right, Secretary Summers, but just quickly here, this is the bottom line, everybody from Wall Street to Main Street. Do you think this is going to work if it passes?
There are no certainties in life, but the prospects for our economy and financial system will be much greater if it passes than if it does not.
All right. Former Secretary of the Treasury, Lawrence Summers, I really appreciate you coming on to walk us through this.
Glad to be with you.